How much? 3 grand per ton. 350, right? All right, sounds good. I was on the hunt for a seat from Shanxi. Something solid, something with history, something at least worthy of a night. So I decided to make the trip myself to pick it up. When I got there, something unexpected happened. A friend reached out saying he had an old classic van sitting around, waiting for the right buyer. He was asking somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 per ton. Curiosity got the best of me, so I checked out the pictures. The frame? Surprisingly solid. But the interior? An absolute wreck. Dust caked on everything. From the looks of it, this thing hadn't been driven or cleaned in at least 3 years. Maybe longer. 3 grand per ton. Firm price, no negotiations, he said. It was clear he wasn't budging. But to his credit, he seemed like a straight shooter. No nonsense. We talked for a bit, trying to work something out, but the price stayed firm. Eventually, he threw in free delivery, which sweetened the deal just enough. Seemed fair. I shook on it. Finally, time to bring it home. From a distance, this thing was a beauty. Rugged, old school, a van with character. But I knew better than to judge it before getting my hands dirty. No more standing around. It was time to load it up. After one last check, I hit the road. Over 300 kilometers ahead of me, and I knew it wasn't going to be a quick trip. 5 straight hours behind the wheel, battling everything from winding roads to unexpected rain. But finally, I made it. Back home, I wasted no time unloading. I needed to see exactly what I was dealing with. First impressions? Loved the seat. It was one of the reasons I made the trip in the first place. But right away, I noticed something missing. The engine cover was gone. No way this thing was hitting the road anytime soon. The interior? A disaster zone. Dust, grime, and debris piled up over the years. Even found a small table stuffed inside. But the front end? Now that was something. Boxy, bold, with a stance that just screamed toughness. An early model built for hard work. Some models had foot bars, this one didn't. And the engine? A multi-point injection, naturally aspirated, 5.9 liters, sitting at roughly 90,000 miles. Looked decent, but it had its quirks. The front grille and headlight rings had been sprayed silver. Whoever did it must have thought they were doing the van a favor. But honestly, it looked terrible. That was going to be one of the first things to go. First order of business, cleaning. This thing needed serious attention before I could even think about firing it up. The previous owner? There was no way to push it into my workshop, so I had to work on it right where it was. Before even thinking about firing it up, I removed the upper oil line to keep any dirty oil from getting into the engine. Then I pulled all the spark plugs out and checked the cylinders. First things first, had to check the engine oil. Looked fine, no major issues. Next, I took out the air filter to make sure the oil could circulate properly. The spark plugs? Completely shot. Had to swap them all out for new ones. The inside of the engine? Filthy, thick carbon buildup everywhere. No way this thing had been maintained properly. I grabbed an endoscope to check inside the engine and get a better idea of what I was dealing with. And man, it was a mess. Carbon deposits everywhere. No wonder it ran so rough. Who knows what kind of fuel it had been burning. The cylinder walls were in rough shape, definitely worn down. This thing hadn't been started in ages. Firing it up cold could have wrecked the engine even more, so I added some fresh oil to help lubricate it first. With that done, I tightened up all the wiring connections to make sure there wouldn't be any loose contacts. Then just when I was ready to start it up, I realized there was no key. Had to get the battery installed first. Swapped in a freshly charged one, making sure to hook up the positive and negative terminals properly. Still, no key. At this point, the only option was to cut a new one. Finally, with a working key in hand, I gave it a shot. But of course, nothing's ever that simple. Check the fuses. Nothing wrong there. This old van was one of those projects where you fix one thing and another issue pops up right after. No surprise there. Looking at the mess under the dash, it was clear the previous owner had done some questionable rewiring. Took some time to straighten it out, but eventually it all started coming together. Had to be extra careful with potential oil leaks. One wrong move, and I'd be in for a nightmare. Finally, after sorting out the electrical system, I was able to crank it over. The fuel system was primed and oil started flowing. Good sign. Check the oil color. Looked decent, definitely usable. No major red flags. With everything in place, it was time to see if this old beast would finally come back to life. Getting this thing started was a real struggle. The engine was sluggish, cranking over but refusing to fire up. No surprise there, after years of use, carbon buildup in the engine is inevitable. See this? When an engine builds up too much carbon, it's completely normal. The key is to clean it out before it starts causing serious issues. The main reason carbon deposits form is incomplete fuel combustion, which leads to residue sticking to engine components over time. Once carbon starts accumulating inside the engine, it creates all sorts of problems. It clogs up the piston rings and intake valves, reducing efficiency and making it harder for the engine to start. It also leads to rough idling, sluggish acceleration, and in some cases, higher fuel consumption. Just like what happened here, struggling to start, weak response. There are several ways to clean out carbon buildup. You've got dry ice blasting, intake cleaning, and even fuel additive treatments, all of which can be effective. But let's be real, some of those methods are a hassle. If the deposits are really bad, they can even lead to engine knocking and more expensive repairs. For routine maintenance, using a high-quality fuel additive is one of the easiest ways to keep things clean. The market is flooded with different brands, but not all of them deliver results. Personally, I swear by Chep-Poo Fuel System Cleaner. It's super easy to use. Just pour it straight into the gas tank, and it does the job. A lot of industry professionals recommend it, and it's from a solid domestic brand. If you use it on a new car, it helps maintain performance. If you use it on an older car, it helps break down carbon deposits and restore efficiency. After a full treatment cycle, you can actually feel the difference. That's why I always keep a bottle around and recommend it to everyone. Before giving the engine another shot, I topped off the tank with some 2023 premium fuel, just to give it the best possible chance to fire up cleanly. Time to see what happens. I reattached the fuel line, double-checked for leaks, everything looked good, and then finally it happened. The old van roared to life. It wasn't pretty though. The interior was filthy, the dashboard was a disaster, and the whole thing had seen better days. But at least it was running. Next step, a deep clean, inside and out. This thing had been sitting for way too long, covered in dust and grime. It deserved a proper refresh. If you stuck around till the end, I know you're as into this as I am. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep bringing these old machines back to life together.